Hi guys, my name is Jenny and I'm a sophomore at the University of Missouri, and this is a little look at my before and after story about how God has completely changed my life. Growing up, I always knew that there was a God and that Jesus died for me, but that's really where it all ended. I never really understood the point of having a relationship with Him, or the point that that's really what it's all about. But going into high school was a really rough transition for me. I knew that I was never that overly energetic person and that I didn't display happiness like others did. And that formed such a huge insecurity in me because I didn't have many friends, and that really bothered me. And in turn, I ended up starting to change myself to form into what others thought, and I began to act the way that I thought that other people wanted me to. But in reality, all that did was just create a huge hole in my life, and it made me increasingly unhappy. And by my junior year of high school, I realized that I had this huge hole in my life that I didn't know how to fill. And I tried filling it with sports and with school and with friends, but I couldn't get something that seemed to satisfy me, that seemed to make me whole. And I kept losing a sense of who I was, and I just became so lost that I needed to turn to something, anything. And I fell into that classic troublemaker group of friends, and they introduced me to things that I never thought I would do. But I was at such a low point in my life that I would have tried anything to make me happy. And I found something that could make me happy. And even though it wasn't a real happiness, it worked for a while. And I ended up turning to drugs. And I turned to that artificial happiness that could give me a little bit of something for just a while. But really, that turned into a horrible habit. And I became so dependent on it throughout my life. And it actually created a huge problem in my life. And it wasn't until I hit my lowest point one day that for some reason that I still can't understand, I decided that I needed help and that I needed to turn to someone. And I ended up turning to my family, and it ended up being the best decision that I ever made. And as crazy as my family can get, they gave me all the help and support that I needed and were so loving towards me. But I still had that hole in my heart, and I still needed something to fill it with. And I ended up looking at my best friend Erica and how she lived her life. And I saw her living for something else and something bigger, and she lived for God. And I didn't really understand what that meant at the time, but I decided that why not try it? It couldn't hurt. And so I started going to church, and I started talking to people about it. And ever since that moment and that change in my life, I have been so happy and just so joyful, and I'm confident in who I am, and I don't have a hole in my life anymore. And God has completely filled that void, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Now I feel like I live for a purpose, and I feel like I have a reason to be living, and I'm not insecure anymore. I'm confident in who I am, and I know that the things that I do are in God, and nothing really else matters. And if I had to sum up my life into one word, before and after, before, I would say I was really unhappy, and after, I would say I'm very confident and I know what I'm living for. And so that's my before and after story. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks.